Hey everyone, Steve Conley here. I'm going to try something a little bit different. What I did with the latest episode of The Middle Age is that I recorded the video, a screen capture, of what I was doing when I was coloring panel 2 of episode 169. So I'm going to hit play on this, and I recorded this audio afterwards, and hopefully it will line up and sort of make sense. Going to hit play now. So this is where we start off. I've got a silhouette of the two characters, and on a layer below them, I'm painting in clouds. I've got that blue square, which is basically my selection. And I've got a layer onto which I'm painting in those white clouds. Now what I do is I blur them a little bit so they're kind of softer. Now I've got a layer that I've added above it, and I've got this leaf texture I've gotten. And on a layer above the clouds, I'm drawing it in, and I can tell those were a little too big. So I've changed my brush size down, and I'm now drawing them in a bit lighter. And if you hear thunder behind me, there's a terrible storm rolling through the area, but I really want to get this done today. Okay, so now I like that green. I'm sorry, the green. I like those leaves. And now what I'm doing is I've sampled the green from another panel, and I'm painting in some extra green. Just brushing it in there. Because if I start off with a black silhouette of those leaves, or that foliage, and then I try to subtract color later on, which is what I'll be doing, there's just not enough color, not enough richness in there. So I painted in some green, and then what I do is I added another layer, and onto that I set it to multiply, and I've painted more of that same green on top. Now on a new layer above that, so now we're talking already 5 layers or so, I've now set that layer to screen, and I'm now brushing in those leaf textures, pulling the color out. So we've got this rich black-green color, and now I'm pulling the green out. Now I've added a new layer above that one, and now with a smaller leaf texture, I'm going to do some more of it. So now I'm just basically in little spots, picking the color out to create some depth. So you've got highlight, you've got little light areas and little dark areas. So all of this right now is pretty much monochromatic. We've got the black, pure black, and then we've got these layers of green, which were added in like a light glaze and then multiplied and now subtracted. And now I'm going to mix it up. So with orange, on a layer that's set to screen, that's a recurring theme here, and a very small brush, I'm just going to paint in little highlights like the sunlight, which I'll be kind of adding later on, a bright orange glow, that the sunlight is just sort of touching little leaves in there. This is not going to sound like a Bob Ross recording, but it's kind of what I'm doing is I'm adding that orange, and then I'm softening it because I didn't want it to feel, I don't want the background to be that eye-catching. I really want the focus to be the characters. This is something that's going to be soft and light behind them and make the scene prettier, quieter. And so on another layer above, again set to screen, I'm now brushing in with a big watercolor brush, light blue. So it's meant to soften everything. I really want those silhouettes to pop in the end, so I don't want it to be too dark. But again, new layer, set it to screen. We're like at 10 layers now. And now with the purple color, I'm subtracting more color. I feel like when you're coloring, you can use crazy colors because there's always weird colors bouncing off of different things. He's got this red cape. The dragon's covered in silvery blue armor. That's bouncing off of stuff, and it will create these weird mixtures of colors. And so I'm a big fan of just putting in a little purple, putting in a little bit of, any color that just strikes you in any moment. So now what I'm doing is I realize that I've got that tree line sort of behind them, but it's not very impressive. It's just this one layer. So what I've done is I've gone back underneath all the stuff you've watched me draw, but above the clouds, and I'm painting in with a black brush of the foliage again, a slightly smaller size brush, painting in a lot of trees in the background. So keep in mind, this is all appearing underneath the colors I've just screened and all that other stuff that's happened that you've seen so far. So there's not going to be much of a differentiation between the new tree line and the original tree line. This has gotten way more complicated than I thought that it would be. But anyway, so you've got the close-up tree line and you've got the distant one. And now between those two layers, which I'm adding a few more layers set to screen, I'm just going to pull out more and more color to almost make that distant tree line invisible. Again, we don't care about that. And there's also the sword, you can see, has got a little tail for a word balloon there, and I need to make sure that the type that's going to sit there will be legible against a nice light background. So again, this is all just to make that tree line that we've created in the background almost invisible. So that's what you see, another layer set to screen. I'm going to pull out the color even more, and so it's just barely there, but I'm certain on some level you pick it up. But again, part of this is like a comic strip panel people look at for 5 seconds, maybe, if I'm lucky. That's lingering. So this is just something that people kind of have in their peripheral vision as they're reading the text. They get a sense of the shapes, the sense of the character relationships, read the text, and move on to the other one. No one's going to spend this much time looking at this panel, but I'm crazy. So anyway, now on a layer above all of that, above the ink, even above the word balloons, I'm now painting in, with a layer set to screen, that orange color. So it's going to pull away some of the color of the characters as if the sunlight is just coming through the scene. And so you're going to see I'll create another layer above this. Again, the exact same thing. A new layer set to screen with a big fat brush. And the first one I put down, too much. And there's the thunder. It's a bit too much right now. So I created a new layer, set it to screen, and then pushed it a little bit. And now I'm going to just slightly reduce the opacity. And that's it. That's pretty much the panel as it ran. Thanks so much. I hope you like that. And if people dig this, I'll do more of them.